Alright, for this last part of section 7, we're looking at special types of lines. So we're looking at lines either vertical or horizontal with this given information. So undefined slope, remember, undefined slope are vertical, zero slope is horizontal. The easy way to remember that is there's a Z in zero and a Z in horizontal. But if it's undefined, that's not zero. Zero is definitely defined. Undefined means vertical. So vertical always has x equals, but it does not have a y in it. So this is a horizontal line. This is a slanted line that's not vertical or horizontal. The x equals -2/7 and the x equals 1 are both vertical lines. So it's going to be either A or D. And if you notice, the x coordinate is -2/7, the y coordinate is 1. It's the x equals the x coordinate is going to be the equation of the line that passes through this. So what's happening visually? There's our x-axis. There's our y-axis. We have a point at -2/7 and 1. So let's say that point is, there's -2/7, +1. So there's our point. There, I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So what we want is a vertical line that's going to go through that point. So the x coordinate is -2/7, the y coordinate is 1, and since it's vertical, the line would look something like this. Alright, and now because that line passes through -2/7, +1, where it hits the x-axis is -2/7. So the x-intercept is -2/7. That's one way you can look at it. But really, the reality is that the reason why it's named x equals -2/7 is every single point that's on this graph. If I take a point, put it on there, again, let me make this a little bit bigger, and I take that point and I just move that point around. And I move it up and down on that line. Every single x coordinate is -2/7. So no matter what the y coordinate is, the x coordinate is always -2/7. And so that's all we need to describe that line. It's every single possible y value with x equals -2/7 is its x coordinate. Okay, but anyway, the way you come up with an undefined slope through a point is just say x equals whatever the x coordinate is. So there's our answer. Okay, now similar exercise, undefined slope through -3/5, 2. X equals the x coordinate. Now, as we move forward, the equations, what you're doing, it may seem to get harder for some of these, but in reality, this is just another way to do this problem that we saw in the last video, where they gave us the slope and a point, and we had to write it in this form. But this one's actually even easier because they are giving us the slope and they're giving us the y-intercept, and they're wanting us to write in slope-intercept form. So this is m, this is b, the y-intercept is b. We just pick the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. So it's y equals mx plus b, where this is m. So -2 is m, x plus b, and b is 4. B is 4. So mx plus b, and there's our answer. Okay. If they're giving us the slope and the y-intercept, that is what the number in front of x and the constant are in the slope-intercept form of the line. Alright, through 5/8, parallel to the x-axis. So let's think about this one. So here's a point. We're going to move it over to 5/8. So 5/8, let's say that would be somewhere up here. We want it to go through that point, but we want it to be parallel to the x-axis. Well, parallel to the x-axis would mean horizontal. So what does it intersect? It intersects the y-axis. So it's going to be a y equals, and again, what y-coordinate is it going through? It's going through the y-coordinate of this point. It's going through 8. So horizontal lines just look like y equals, and you pick, since it's y, you pick the y-coordinate. So y equals the y-coordinate. If it's vertical, it's x, and x equals the x-coordinate of the point. All right, so that's how we do these. Now, perpendicular to the y-axis would also be parallel to the x-axis. This is perpendicular to the y-axis because it hits the y-axis at a 90-degree angle. So -7, -6 would be down here somewhere in the third quadrant, and then the line would be perpendicular to the y-axis, which is again parallel to the x-axis. So again we have a horizontal line, and it's y equals the y-coordinate. Now these last couple of problems, again this one you could just do with the calculator that we showed in the last video, or just the techniques that we did in the last video. Just practice it one last time just to get it down. Stat, editor, change your first number to these two, so -1, -3. Alright, and remember the slope is telling us how the x and y are changing. The top is y, and there's a negative, remember we associate it with the y. So we're going to take our original y coordinate, -3, and we're going to subtract 5. So -5. There's our new y coordinate. And then for the new x coordinate, we're going to take our old x coordinate, -1, and the 6, since we assigned the negative to the top, the 6 is positive. So -1 plus 6. And there's our new x coordinate. So there's our 2 points given by this, and we just hit stat, calculate linear regression, option 4. Okay, and there's our equation. All right, notice it's got repeating decimals, so we don't exactly know what these things are. So what we can do, it tells us to use fractions in the expression. So since it's given us repeating decimals, we can do one of two things. We can these values for a and b are stored in your calculator under vars, variables. You can go and find them. They're under statistics because we were using that statistics menu, and hit that, and then go to EQ for equation, and then there's the a and the b. You can one at a time hit 2a and go to math and press into fraction, and you can plug them in that way, and then do the same thing. Vars, statistics, equation. All right, we got an equation from regression, and then b is option 3, and then change it to a fraction, math 1. All right. The other option that you have, so there's our answer. -5, 6 is the a term, so that's what's times x. And then -23, 6. The other option you can do is when you run the regression, and you get your a and b, is you can actually type this in. You can type in -0.8 and then a whole bunch of 3s, like fill up a whole line of 3s, and then press math into fraction. And your calculator understands that you want to convert that repeating fraction into a, repeating decimal into a fraction. And then I can do the same thing with the value for b. So there's the -3 in front of all those values, math 1 into fraction. And there's the 23. So you can actually type it in manually. You just need to make sure you fill up a whole row for your calculator to understand it's repeating. Okay. So there's a way you can get that with your calculator. Again, doing this by hand, you would just do like the methods we did in the last video. Now, this last problem I'm going to show you in this video, this is a very commonly missed problem. The reason why it's so commonly missed is because it's just unusual. It's different to do a problem like this. You've probably never done a problem like this before, or if you have, it may have been a while. So the way we do this is it wants us to do years after 1998 as the x coordinate. So they're giving us 2 points here. Like a point pair is like an x and a y, like 2 different values. So year, newspapers, year, newspapers. So they want us to use that 0 for years after 1998. Well, in 1998, it's been 0 years. So 0 for 1998. And then 1506 is how many newspapers there were. By 2002, okay, that is 4 years after 1998. So x is 4. There were 1,454 newspapers. So there's my 2 points that I'm going to plug into here. So 0, 1506, comma 4, 1454. Okay, so there's my first 2 points, and then we want an equation. All we need, because this is the y-intercept, okay, when the x coordinate is 0, that's b, that's the y-intercept. So we want an equation in that mx plus b form. So all we need to do here is find the slope. All right, and remember the slope, you subtract the y-coordinate, so 1454 minus 1506, that's subtracting y-coordinates, and divide by subtracting x-coordinates. So 4 was with the 1454 minus 0. And when I subtract these two values, I get negative 52 over 4. And then you do that division, that's negative 13. So our slope is negative 13. This is my y-intercept because the x-coordinate is 0, so this is the value for b. So mx plus b. So y equals negative 13x plus 1506. And once again, your calculator could find that equation. You just stat, edit, put those 2 points in for x and y. All right, once you have your points in, stat, calc, len reg, and then there's our two numbers, negative 13x plus 1506, which is exactly what we have right here. All right, and the last thing says, and then the last part says, how many daily newspapers were there in 2001? Well, 2001 is 3 years after 1998. So we're plugging 3 in for x into the equation. So I need a negative 13, multiplying that by 3, which is the value for x, plus 1506. I'm just plugging into the equation we got for part B. And there's our answer, 1467. Alright, so that's how you do that last problem. It's probably the toughest one, but there is something similar to this on your test for this module.